Your phone. Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to begin in perhaps a rather unusual way and quote from a work of Ian Fleming, the creator of James Bond. The work is "You Only Live Twice." And if you get a chance, read the works. Don't settle for the films. The films are fluff. The writings of Fleming had acid to them. And this is a quote I'd like you to listen to briefly. "The Oriental way of life is particularly attractive to the American who wishes to escape from a culture." Could you please speak up? The Oriental way of life is particularly attractive to the American who wishes to escape from a culture which, I am sure you will agree, has become, to say the least of it, more and more unattractive except to the lower grades of the human species, to whom bad but plentiful food, shiny toys such as automobiles and television, and the quick buck often dishonestly earned or earned in exchange for minimal labor or skills are the summum bonum, if you will allow this sentimental echo from my Oxford education. Now, the speaker in the novel is the head of the Japanese Secret Service, Tanaka. And the important thing to realize is he's been to Oxford. He knows something about the outside world, the Western world. But how many people have been to China, Japan, or Korea and know anything about that part of the world? I also chose it because it illustrates the second part of the title, the summum bonum, Latin for the highest good. Depending on what you consider to be the highest good, you act in a certain way, or you act in a different way. The title, by the way, of the work comes from a poem by Basho, the Japanese haiku poet. You only live twice, once when you are born, and once when you look death in the face. Now, what does that have to do with yin and yang? It simply is, again, the word Oriental, as opposed to Occidental. Oriental comes from the Latin for rising, and that is what the East is doing. The East is rising, and Occidental comes from the Latin for falling, and I'll let you judge that. But again, to know something about the East is imperative. You have to have some idea of what it is. Now, what it is in a sense trying to fathom what is the ultimate reality, what is the nature of things, how is the world made up. And from the Chinese point of view, there are actually four ideas that you need to have some idea of. First, yin and yang, the most familiar of the ideas because of graphic representation. The second is qi, which is very, very difficult to define, but I'll try to do it nonetheless. And then the word Dao, or Do, the way, the path. Those four terms are basic to an understanding. They're not the only terms, but they are the ones that you should have some idea of. Now, I assume all of you are familiar with the symbol of yin and yang, a circle which is usually divided into a light half, dark half, not necessarily white or black. And the line that separates the two is not straight. It is something like an S shape. Now, the importance of that is it suggests there is no fixed boundary between the two. that there is constant movement back and forth. Also in the symbol, there is in the dark side a small dot, you might say, of light, and in the light side there is a small dot of the dark. In other words, nothing exists completely in and of itself. Yin and Yang do not exist without one another. They make no sense separately because they have no relation, they have no existence except in relationship to one another. Again, this is important that you grasp this movement. It's not static. Everything is moving. If you remember from the integrative studies courses or other sources, Heraclitus, everything moves, nothing stays the same. Now, if everything is in motion, then there's a problem with what the truth is. The truth, for most people, tends to be something that stays still. The word truth comes from the Indo-European root for solid. It also, strangely enough, gives you the word tree, something that is rooted, solid, and will stay there. Plato liked to think that things to be intelligible needed to stay what they were, had to be stable. But in a world where everything is moving and nothing is truly stable, then can you focus upon truth? Or is it more natural and more reasonable to focus upon balance, harmony, that the conflicting forces somehow do not destroy one another, but complement one another? And that's the key word. It's spelled with an E, not with an I. There's no flattery involved. They complete one another. And these forces are the nature of everything in the world. The two forces. Now, I'm using the word force for lack of a better term. In a moment, we'll get to Qi, and you'll find that Qi is considered to be simply what Yin and Yang modifies. There is the Yin Qi, or the Yin force, and the Yang force. Now, since it permeates all of nature, I'd like to show you, because all words really have no power to equal that of an image. Now, this is an image of Yin and Yang that you most likely have not seen before. It's an image from nature, and if this works. Not exactly what you normally see as symbols of Yin and Yang, and yet, from the Chinese point of view, that is exactly what it is. And if you look at the traditional, let me get close to this, and if you look at the traditional Yin and Yang symbol, it tends to suggest almost the body of a fish or tadpole. Consequently, nature, everywhere you look, from the Chinese point of view, is a question of Yin and Yang. You cannot escape it. Now, it is in the concrete, it is also in the abstract. Now, let me return this. This is in Japanese, a kakejitsu. It's a hanging scroll. It's usually made out of paper, sometimes out of silk and other materials. And it is particularly easy to transport and carry. And you normally, in the Chinese way, change them according to the seasons. As a result, you can have a whole series of transformation within a room simply by changing these scrolls. And